Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we need to talk about a very specific kind of ghost story.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not about haunted houses. It's about that feeling when you look at your LinkedIn profile and you see this, successful person staring back, but when you look in the mirror, nobody's home.
right. The hollow victory. We see this all the time, especially in these high-pressure industries like tech.
Exactly.
You check every single box, great title, the stock is vesting, you've got the corner office with the view, but internally, the lights are just flickering.
We usually call that burnout, or maybe just adulthood if we're feeling a bit cynical. But today, we're diving into a book that argues it's actually something, well, much deeper and honestly a lot darker.
We are looking at the novel Waiting to Breathe by Vikas Agarwal.
And it's a fascinating book.
It really is because it pulls a bit of a bait and switch on you. You pick it up thinking you're getting this sharp, funny satire about Silicon Valley, kind of like the show Silicon Valley Meets The Office.
Yeah.
But then Agarwal just pulls the rug out from under you, and it becomes this really profound meditation on trauma, on memory, and what it actually means to be alive.
I have to admit, the first 50 pages totally tricked me. I was laughing at the absurdity of it. We're following this guy, Arian Nazrani, but everyone calls him Ari.
Right, Ari.
He's a high-flying exec at a massive tech giant called Nile, and then later he moves to another one called Artifact.
And on paper, Ari is the immigrant dream personified.
Mhm.
He's made it. He's indispensable. But if you look just a little closer, the guy is completely disintegrated.
Physically disintegrating. He's sleeping on the floor because his back is in knots. He's just vibrating with anxiety. And he's doing that thing, I think we've all done it, where he's doom-scrolling stock prices at 2 in the morning instead of dealing with his actual life.
Exactly. And our mission today isn't just to recap Ari's story.
Mhm.
We want to use it to figure out why we do this. Why do we build these golden cages for ourselves? And specifically, how does unresolved trauma masquerade as, like, high performance?
Let's start with the cage itself. The world Ari works in is, well, it's brutal, but it's also ridiculously funny in this really bleak way.
It is. Agarwal just captures that tech bro culture perfectly.
Yeah.
There are these scenes where executives are sitting in budget meetings, casually discussing laying off 20% of the workforce.
Mm.
But they're not agonizing over it. They're looking at spreadsheets, calculating how it impacts the stock price so their own bonuses don't take a hit.
That part felt way too real. It's the abstraction of human suffering into, data points.
That's it. And there's a great concept in the book that explains how these companies get so dysfunctional. It's called the bozo explosion.
The bozo explosion. I love that term. It sounds like some kind of clown disaster.
It kind of is.
Hmm.
But in corporate terms, it's the death spiral of competence. The idea is that an A player, a top-tier talent, is secure enough to hire other A players. But a B player, a mediocre manager, is insecure.
Okay.
They don't want to be threatened, so they hire C players to make themselves look superior.
And then the C players hire D players.
And suddenly, you look around, and the whole organization is just full of bozos. The culture rots from the middle out. And Ari is stuck right in the center of this, surrounded by narcissists and political climbers.
But here's the thing I struggled with at first. Ari is smart. He sees the bozos. He sees the absurdity of it all. So why doesn't he just take his vested stock and leave? Why is he staying?
That is the million-dollar question. It's not about the money. For Ari, and for a lot of high performers, work is a drug. But it's not a drug for pleasure. It's an anesthetic. He's addicted to external validation because he uses it to prove he exists.
To prove he exists, that sounds pretty existential.
It is. Ari believes that if he isn't useful, if he isn't a star performer, he's nothing. The book illustrates the danger of this mindset with a character named Brian Maroney.
Oh man, Brian, that storyline just hit me so hard.
Brian is the cautionary tale. He was the head of AI. He built the company's entire infrastructure. He sacrificed his marriage. He barely knew his kids, all for the job. His entire identity was Brian, head of AI.
And then the company pivots.
They pivot. In one meeting, Brian gets pushed aside because he lacks executive presence.
Wow.
He's not polished enough. They strip his title. And because he had outsourced his entire self-worth to the corporation, he didn't have anything left.
And he commits suicide.
Itchy duck.
It's such a heavy pivot in the book. You're laughing at the bozo explosion 1 minute, and then suddenly you're at a funeral.
And that's the point. It shows that these games we play at work have lethal consequences. When you hand the keys to your self-worth to a corporation, you are handing them a loaded gun. If they fire you, they aren't just taking your paycheck, they're taking your soul.
And Ari sees this happen to Brian, but he doesn't stop. He doubles down. There's a scene where his uncle is literally dying of cancer, and Ari is in the hospital room checking his email.
He's using work to numb the pain. He can't handle the reality of death, so he just retreats into the safety of spreadsheets.
Okay, so this brings us to the why. Because people don't just become workaholic robots for no reason. And this is where the book takes a turn that I honestly did not see coming. We find out that Ari isn't really his name.
No, his real name is Aryan. And he isn't just some guy from the suburbs. He is a Kurdish refugee from Iraq.
And not just any refugee.
He is a survivor of the Halabja chemical attack in 1988.
Whoa. Okay, pause. We are going from corporate satire to surviving a chemical genocide. That is a massive narrative leap. How does the book even bridge that gap?
He uses memory. As Ari breaks down under all the corporate pressure, the memories start intruding. We learn that as a child, he survived the gas attack that killed his mother. His uncle, Masood, managed to save him and get him to America,
So he escapes a literal war zone and lands in the U.S.
where he is immediately greeted with racism. The kids call him raghead. They tell him he stinks of garlic. He's bullied relentlessly. And there's this one line that explains his entire adult life. Ari says he just wanted to be invisible. He couldn't wash the scent of garlic or gas off his skin, but he could make his identity invisible.
So the tech executive persona, the suits, the jargon, the success, that's all a disguise.
It's armor. Think about it. If you are indispensable to the company, if you are the perfect employee, you are safe. No one can hurt you. He changed his name to Ari to hide Aryan. His corporate success isn't driven by ambition. It's a trauma response. He is trying to prove his right to exist by being useful.
That creates such a different lens for looking at high performers. We usually think they're driven by greed or ego. But you're saying Ari is driven by the terror of being helpless again.
Precisely. He is building a fortress of success so that the little boy from Halabja never has to be scared again. But the problem is, the body keeps the score.
Right, the neck pain.
The chronic pain, the insomnia, his body is screaming, "We are not safe, we are stressed." But his mind is just saying, "Keep working or we'll die."
This is where Uncle Masood becomes so important. He's the only connection Ari has to his past, to the real him.
Masood is the soul of the book, and the contrast is so stark. You have Ari, rich, successful, powerful, and absolutely miserable. And then you have Uncle Masood, drove a cab for a living, has no money, and he is dying of stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
But he is joyful. He's at peace.
Masood tries to teach Ari about this concept of the second arrow. Now, I've heard this in meditation apps, but seeing it applied to a corporate burnout story was really interesting. Can you break that down?
Yeah, it's a Buddhist parable. The idea is that if a warrior is shot by an arrow, it hurts. That's the physical pain. That is the first arrow. It's unavoidable. Life happens.
Okay.
But the warrior then shoots himself with a second arrow. This is the mental reaction. It's the, why me? This isn't fair. I can't handle this. The second arrow is the suffering we create by resisting the pain.
But hold on. Let's play devil's advocate here. In a corporate setting, if you miss a quarterly target and your boss is screaming at you, that's a first arrow. If you just sit there and accept it, don't you get fired? How does the second arrow apply when you actually do need to worry about consequences?
It's a great question. The second arrow isn't about passivity. It's about clarity. If your boss yells at you, the first arrow is the unpleasant noise and the bad news. You can deal with that. You can make a plan. The second arrow is the narrative you spin. I'm a failure. I'm going to end up like Brian. Everyone hates me. That panic paralyzes you. It actually makes you less effective at fixing the problem.
So Ari is basically walking around looking like a pincushion of second arrows.
Constantly. He's agonizing over emails, replaying conversations. Masood sees this, and Masood's core teaching is this. If you want to live, learn how to die.
Which sounds incredibly morbid for a dying man to say.
It does, but Masood means it as liberation. There's a beautiful anecdote he tells about eating dates during Ramadan. Masood tells Ari that he realized whenever he was eating a date, his hand was already reaching for the next one.
Oh, I do that with popcorn. I'm not even tasting the one in my mouth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are always grasping for the future. Masood realizes he spent his whole life waiting for the next thing. Now that he's dying, he has no future to grasp for. So for the first time, he is actually tasting the date. He's fully in the present.
It's so ironic. The guy with no time left is the only one who actually has time.
That is the central paradox. Ari thinks he has forever, so he wastes his time being anxious. Masood knows he has days, so he spends them living.
So Ari tries to apply this. He doesn't quit immediately, which I appreciated because that's not realistic for most people, but he tries to change how he works. He creates this secret group called the Plumbers.
I love the plumbers. This is where the book gives us a model for intentional living inside a broken system. Ari realizes he can't fix the whole company, but he can fix the plumbing, the actual flow of work.
And he sends his engineers to the warehouse floor.
Right. The engineers were building software that was causing repetitive strain injuries for the warehouse workers because the buttons were in the wrong place on the screen. The engineers had no idea because they never left their ivory tower.
It's such a basic disconnect, but the plumbers fix it, and they actually start having fun.
They do. There's the Informer video.
The karaoke spoof.
Yes. They make a parody of that 90s rap song Informer. It's this moment of pure joy. It shows that work doesn't have to be miserable. When the team felt safe and when they felt their work actually mattered to the warehouse guys, the burnout just evaporated.
This is a tragedy as much as a satire. The system fights back, and we get the villains, Alan and Emily.
Ellen and Emily represent what the book calls the integrity trap.
Wait, the integrity trap? That sounds like a contradiction.
It's weaponized HR language. Emily holds a meeting about integrity and courage, telling these heartwarming stories about her kids biking, all while her division is crashing and burning. She uses the language of values to silence dissent. She demands positive questions only.
Ugh. Toxic positivity.
It's worse than that. It's gaslighting.
Yeah.
Ari realizes that the system rewards the perception of success over actual reality. Alan and Emily are failing, but they look good. Ari's succeeding, but he's breaking rules.
And this leads to the breaking point. Ari has to save a colleague, Adnan, from being fired unjustly. And he realizes loyalty to people matters more than loyalty to the company. That realization is what pushes him out the door.
He takes a leave of absence, and this sets up the climax of the book. He takes Uncle Masood on one final trip.
They go to Hajj.
To Mecca, yes. And for listeners who might not know, Hajj isn't a vacation. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It involves millions of people converging on Mecca in the searing heat. It is physically grueling, crowded, chaotic.
Which is the last place a control freak like Ari wants to be.
Exactly. He's stripped of his executive status. Everyone wears the same white cloth. You can't tell a billionaire from a beggar.
Tell me about the scene on Mount Arafat, because that felt like the moment the second arrow finally stopped.
It's the spiritual peak of the pilgrimage. Ari is dehydrated, exhausted, crushed by the crowd. He's lying on the ground. And in that desperation, he has this vision. He sees his ego, his Ari persona, as a box that he's been pushing against the wall his entire life.
The box he built to hide inside.
Yes. And he realizes he can just stop pushing. He stops rejecting himself. He realizes that the little boy from Halabja didn't need to become a VP to be worthy of love. He was worthy just because he existed.
That's the death of the ego.
And it coincides with the physical death of Uncle Masood. Masood passes away shortly after the pilgrimage, but he gives Ari one last instruction. Duty comes first.
Which sounds like something a boss would say.
But Masood redefines it.
Yeah.
He doesn't mean duty to shareholders. He means duty to your family, to humanity, and to your own soul.
Ari shaves his head at the end of Hajj, right?
He does. It's a traditional ritual, symbolizing rebirth. But for Ari, it's him shedding the tech bro haircut, the persona. He
Yeah.
keeps a lock of Masood's white hair. It's such a powerful image carrying the wisdom of the past instead of running from it.
So he returns to the U.S. He's bald, he's grieving, but he's breezing, hence the title. But then the book does something tricky. The corporate world tries to claw him back in.
The prologue and the epilogue meet. Vera, his old mentor, calls him. She offers him the throne, the CEO job at Artifact.
The ultimate validation, the thing he spent 20 years chasing.
A year ago, he would have killed for it, but now he says no. He looks at his wife, Rivka, who he had almost lost because of his work addiction, and he chooses her. He chooses healing.
I loved that resolution. It felt so final, but then I turned the page.
And the twist.
The phone buzzes again. Vera sends an email marked urgent, business matter. And Ari thinks every ending is a doorway to a new beginning. And he opens the NDA.
It is maddening. And it's brilliant.
Why does he open it? Did he learn nothing?
Or did he learn everything? That's the debate. One interpretation is that he's an addict relapsing. The system always wins.
That's the cynical read.
But the other interpretation is that he's going back in, but this time without the armor. He's going back to be a plumber on a CEO level. He's going to try to fix the system with the wisdom he found on the mountain.
Can you do that, though? Can you be a saint in the city? Can you maintain spiritual mindfulness in a cutthroat capitalist environment? Or will the integrity trap just eat you alive again?
That is the question Agarwal leaves us with. Is it possible to play the game without losing yourself? Waiting to breathe doesn't give us a tidy answer. It suggests that the battle against the second arrow never really ends. You just get better at seeing it coming.
Man, that is a lot to process. I think I need to go check my pockets for second
You
arrows.
all do. And maybe eat a date and actually taste it this time.
Solid advice. Thanks for listening to the deep dive. We'll catch you next time.